And we are live. All right. Hello, and welcome to Commentary Track Stars number 462. I'm Mike, and today I'm joined by Marcelo from the Talk Film Society. How's it going, Marcelo?
Hello, it's great. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming. We're live for no one who's watching right now.
Hello, every no one.
And we're talking about the new X-Files episode, which aired just now, episode 10.5, Babylon. But before we get into that, you've got a new podcast, which you
Oh,
just started up too, right?
yes. All of a sudden, I have a new podcast. I already have two. Why not have a third one?
All right.
Yeah, it's called the Colorado Street Podcast with me and Rocky Juarez, two guys living in Austin, talking about, I guess, the Austin film going experience.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, for those who follow Rocky on Twitter, or for those who know Rocky, he's Rocky War Ants on Twitter. He works at a video store, Vulcan Video, in Austin, and he's like the best. So I had him on my Talk Film Society podcast, and I decided, from there, it's like, why not just have our own podcast on the side? So yeah, that's basically it. The Colorado Street Podcast. We've recorded one episode and many more to come, hopefully.
That's pretty awesome. I'm very jealous of the Austin film going experience because it
Yeah,
seems like the best in the world.
yeah, it's I am uh it's like too much sometimes. Like this morning, I got an email saying, because I'm part of the Draft House Victory membership,
Yeah.
and the Alamo Draft House is the greatest theater in the world. Um, as far as I know. And they sent me an email saying, "Would you like to come to a free screening of The Witch, held by the Satanic Temple?"
Oh, I saw
With
that.
yeah, and I'm I don't know what to expect.
They're doing like a ritual afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's the Austin film going experience in
That's
a
pretty good.
nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah. Undead Pixel just tweeted us and said, "No one, as in no one's watching." It looks like now we have two viewers. So
All
thanks,
right.
Undead Pixel, and anyone else who may be watching. And yeah, if you are watching and you have reactions to tonight's X Files, be sure to send us tweets and everything. And yeah, we'll read them live on the air. Um, yeah, yeah. I just saw a thing. I don't think it's in Austin. I think it might have been in San Antonio, but tonight they were showing Star Trek Six: The Undiscovered Country at one of the Alamo draft houses.
Oh yeah. And right now downtown, at the downtown Ritz Draft House, they're showing Moulin Rouge, but they're showing it with, like, they have like these new laser lights in the Draft House Theater, which
Yeah.
I experienced last month. They played Scott Pilgrim with these new laser lights.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's something else. It's like a laser show mixed with like a live theatrical, like, experience that, yeah, it's pretty cool what they're doing now.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I know that they do. I don't know if this is related to the people from the draft house. There's like I know that there's like a group that like tours, where, kind of like the Rocky Horror Room type of thing, but they do
Right.
some stuff. And I know every year on New Year's Eve they show Moulin Rouge at the Music Box, which is sort of like Chicago's, like, or the Alamo Draft Houses, sort of like, um, secondary, like Chicago location, like that's where, if like that's the place that'll show like Roar, for example, or
Uh-huh.
whatever. And they did one thing which I went to, which was pretty awesome. It was um they showed the first like set of Trapped in the Closet uh episodes or whatever. It was pretty great. I mean, they had, there was someone there from the movie and everything, or from the show, and the show was great. I've never been with a crowd which was so electric as that theater. The place was like, they had an R. Kelly dance party before the thing started, and then they were giving out. I still have mine. It was a, where is it? I got it right here. Hang on a second, I'll show you. Okay. Certainly the best thing ever to get at a movie. It's a condom but it
Oh
says,
God.
"Oh my God, a rubber,
Oh
rubber,
yeah,
rubber, rubber."
the action pack. Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's the name of them. So they're part of like the draft house, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they do that kind of stuff here. I think the oh god, I don't know if the action pack is doing the Moulin Rouge thing, but yeah, they're known for that type of stuff, that type of like interactive like props, like full experience type of thing. So yeah, I'm not surprised that they did that. The R. Kelly condom thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is pretty great. I mean, the whole thing was pretty great. Although you could totally tell, like with that series, the first set is awesome. I mean, have you seen Trapped in the Closet?
I have not, unfortunately.
Oh,
No.
you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. The first set, at least. Like the first set is amazing because it's the most ridiculous shit you've ever seen in your life, and it's 100%. So, did you hear that? Did you hear that
Yeah,
little
I
staticky
heard that.
thing? That's gonna be the. I don't know how to get rid of it. Ever since I upgraded my OS, it's okay. Well, I thought I had fixed the problem, but I guess not. Anyway, the first set is awesome because he was trying to be serious, and it
Right.
ended up being the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen in your life, right? So
Right.
everyone saw it and was like, this thing is hilarious, this is amazing. So then the second set, he's like, oh yeah, yeah, I was doing like a comedy thing, so let me be funny here. And he's not funny at all, right? So the second set, which is supposed to be a comedy, is really really boring and stupid. So
No, that's
what can you do?
yeah, that's a shame. But yeah, I keep hearing it's insane. I've heard things already. Like I mean, yeah, years of living as a person, you hear stuff like from on South Park and Weird Al Yankovic making fun of it. So yeah, I should sit down and watch the whole thing. That
Yeah,
first set anyway.
it's definitely good. It's definitely good. And there goes the little staticky thing again. It's terrible. All right. So let's talk about Babylon. Um, this is a weird episode.
Yeah,
I'm assuming that most people have seen it, but if you're catching this, somewhere down the line or whatever, this is the episode that Chris Carter directed, and it is uh, how do you describe it? It starts off with a terrorist attack, and from an uh, Islamic. I wasn't not really a group, but like two guys, right?
right.
And then it goes into this investigation where one of the guys is still alive, but in a coma, but like he's like completely messed up, like he's missing half of his skull, and everything. But Mulder seems to think that he can communicate with this guy, and Scully thinks that they might be able to communicate with him through another means. And there's a duo, a dual Mulder and Scully, called Miller and Einstein, which are the younger versions of Mulder and Scully, essentially. So, okay, where to begin? Well, what did you think about the episode?
It was interesting. That's one way of putting it. I mean, I I don't think it was a bad episode. There's still elements in it that I really really liked, but one note I wrote down, I said it feels like a Chris Carter episode at this point.
Yeah,
Um, I mean the little moments of like the politically charged residents of that Texas town, the unidentified Texas town, which is in movies nowadays that always bothers me.
mhm.
They generalize Texas. Like okay, maybe Southwest Texas, maybe parts of that, or I don't know if they're even this bad. But I'll just say Central Texas, like we're fine. You know, uh, Dallas maybe is a little bit worse, but Central, San Antonio, Austin, I think we're pretty level headed. But where they were, yeah, like the comments of like that nurse who went on a rant about this conspiracy, this right wing conspiracy thing. Yeah, felt very Chris Carter. And for the most part, I enjoyed it. There were some good Mulder and Scully moments, but yeah, it was strange starting off with that suicide bombing, having it be so real,
Mhm.
and then going into these fantasy moments, like Mulder's extended fantasy sequence, which was an odd thing.
Yeah,
But yeah, but then coming back down and being grounded with that whole extended conversation with Mulder and Scully at the end about religion and mystery and all this stuff. So yeah, it was an odd episode, but I mean overall I enjoyed it. But yeah, I'm not down on it as I am like with maybe the first episode. Because in retrospect, I think the first episode of this new season
Oh,
so far I think is the least of all of them so far. Yeah, so that's what I'll say.
okay.
Yeah,
I don't think that it was my least favorite. I don't know. I did find it to be very strange the way that the tone kind of shifted back and forth. Like first, I don't know. I guess my it started like last week when we saw the preview because I had heard the rumors. I don't know if you heard these rumors too about the original plan being for like the next season or whatever to be a spin-off or something which would feature Miller and Einstein as the two main characters, right?
right.
And when I first heard that, I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, it makes sense." I mean, they had like Doggett and Reyes, I think her name was, right? Annabeth Gish's character, right? I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, those weren't like, I mean, they were different characters, but it was a way for them to sort of continue with the story or whatever with different people on the X Files, and the idea of getting two young people to do this seems very much like something that a television network would do if they were to continue a show. Young, cheap, attractive people. I mean, that seems to make sense. But then when I saw the preview last week, I was like, W- wait, so they're like literally just like young versions. I mean, it's like a joke. Like they're the jokey young versions of Mulder and Scully, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. But then at the same time, I kind of thought like, well, if they did do a spinoff like like that could be like a really funny show. If they went for the humor, if they went sort of the lone gunman route, I'd be totally into that. I would definitely watch that show. But then the episode starts, so that was like, now I had it in my mind that this was going to be like a wacky episode,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Me too. From the preview of last week for sure. Yeah,
right? And then the episode starts with like a terrorist bombing, and it's like, that's an interesting way to start that. And then as soon as it comes back from the break, it immediately shifts into like this whole like young doppelganger kind of thing, and it's like, wait, what are you doing now? It was so weird how it just kind of like shifted back and forth. And I mean, it kept that up like you're saying throughout like the entire episode. And in some ways I kind of admire them for doing that, because like the X-Files would do that on sort of like a week to week basis, and then for them to actually try that like inside of one episode, I think there's something to be said for that.
yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't.
I was gonna say, while watching it, it felt like I was watching an entire season of the X Files, like in this one episode. Because yeah, it just boils down all the elements of what makes a whole bunch of episodes into one episode. Because yeah, it shifts tones like almost from scene to scene. It's an interesting thing that happened there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, we got a couple tweets from Zach here. He says, "I don't know what to make of Babylon. Worst episode of the X Files relaunch by far. Didn't like the new agents. Felt like an Assignment Earth style attempt to launch a spinoff. No thanks. And Islamophobia much. Um, Assignment Earth. I don't know how up you. I'm guessing you probably don't know what Assignment Earth is, right? Since
I
you're
do
not a
not
huge Star
know.
Trek fan.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no.
He- Basically, they were under the impression that they were getting canceled at the end of season 2 of the original series. So they basically used the season finale, which was supposed to be the series finale, as a backdoor pilot for a kind of American Doctor Who sort of thing, starring this guy whose name I forget, and Terry Garr of all people. And that basically the last episode of the series is a pilot for that, and then the series ended up not getting made, and Star Trek went on for another season. So it's just this weird anomaly that exists, at the end of season 2 of Star Trek. So I mean, I can see that in a sense. Um, he also says, and for the record, as a Texan, I can attest that we don't all wear cowboy hats, dance
Yeah,
country, and hate immigrants. So, all right, looks like you two are on the same page with that one. I've never
yeah,
been to Texas, so you know,
yeah. You're
um,
you're not gonna step out of and the plane into the airport and everybody's gonna wear cowboy hats. That's not what's happening.
that's not how it works. Okay,
No,
all right, that's good
I
to
do
know.
not own a cowboy hat.
All right, yeah, I don't know. Would you consider it to be Islamophobic? Um,
Yeah, nah, kind of. No, but I think it skirts that with the Einstein character. I forget her real name. She was on 6 Feet Under. She was great on that show. I think Amber something.
Lauren Ambrose, is that
Lauren
her name?
Ambrose. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
When she was very level-headed when it came to talking to that nurse who was definitely a racist, and that whole conspiracy right-wing theory thing. She was like, not all Muslims are like that. So I think that line of dialogue kind of saved it a bit because at that point, yeah, it felt very, 24 to me.
Yeah. Yeah, when it started, I was like, "Whoa, this really feels like it was influenced by 24." A lot of X-Files people went on to work on 24, and I'm like, that's weird. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that there was definitely, a lot of counter argument to that throughout the episode. Whether or not they did a good job with it, I'm not
Yeah,
100% positive on, but
it's not perfect. No.
yeah, yeah. I think they were trying to have that discussion. Whether or not they succeeded, I'm not positive on. So yeah. Okay. Well, I guess here's my first question. Beyond that is, would you watch a Miller Einstein series? Is that something you would want to see?
At this point, no.
Okay.
I because I maybe at this point it's because I'm not entirely sold on those characters. And also it feels like I've been down this route before with like the final 2 seasons of the X Files, with Mulder and
Hmm.
Scully not being together as a duo, and at that point, the X Files to me is not interesting, without those two. So yeah, and there have been other shows that have tried to imitate the X Files feel like Fringe. I liked Fringe a lot, but it's not the X Files. So yeah, I don't know. They can't really call themselves the X Files without Mulder and Scully, I guess is my main point. So maybe I need more time with these new characters, these new agents, and judging by the preview for next week's episode, we'll see them again. So yeah, at this point, I say no.
Yeah, yeah. I'm on the show next week with me. I mean, for a show which had a bunch of episodes all shifted around and everything, I'm surprised that any little element of is continued throughout. And having the reference to Scully's mom dying, I thought was that sort of like her motivation for why she's sort of pursuing this, and Miller and Einstein will be in the next episode. I think that could be really interesting, and that could be sort of a good test for them because we are back. Okay, that was
Yes.
weird.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was weird.
Did the call just completely blank out for you there?
Yeah, you froze, and then I heard nothing, and then a blank screen.
Okay. All right. Well, we're back again, I guess. I'm sick and tired of technology. I swear to God. I was like, my OS was at a point where like I couldn't update any of my programs or whatever, and but everyone kept on talking about like the problems that they were having with the latest OS X on like older machines, and finally I bit the bullet and installed it, and now nothing works. Sound problems, picture problems. A couple times my keyboard has just randomly stopped working.
Oh,
It's
jeez.
like, God. Anyway. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It could be interesting. I would definitely be up for it. It's definitely something that I would want to see. Would it be as good as you know, Mulder and Scully? No, probably not. But if it was like on the side, if it was like X-Files, the next generation, while you still had the prime X-Files over here, I think that that could be cool.
Yeah,
You
maybe
know,
like an X Files Miami or something. Yeah.
exactly. Yes, X-Files Miami. That's what I want to see. Um, well, one interesting thing from the preview for next week is there's that sound again. Ah, okay, sorry. I need to calm down. I'm gonna Hulk out here in a second. Is the fact that it didn't say finale or mini series finale or anything like that. It said season finale.
Yeah, I found that interesting. Considering they were advertising it as like a limited series event or mini series,
Hmm.
I guess the ratings are pretty good. Like last I saw, they're pretty great. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this got renewed for another season or limited series, whatever you want to call it. So I have a feeling they'll be back.
Yeah, me too. Fox seems to love that. I mean, sure they cancel shows after two episodes if they have no ratings, but if a show works for them, they keep it around forever. They're bringing back 24 and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. I don't know. Um, I'm definitely into seeing more X Files, but I also do think that limited is might be good. I'm kind of I'm not going to say glad that next week is the last episode, but I do feel like if they keep it limited, they sort of allow for more quality, in a short amount of time. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, exactly. And so far, I mean, this week's, yeah, not top tier for me, but like the last 3 weeks have been like really good, and I think, and yeah, I like if if it were just those 3 episodes, if like there was just those three in this season, I'd be like, this is like the best thing ever, and still I'm enjoying it,
Hmm.
even though I didn't enjoy this episode as much, but yeah, I mean, keeping it at six, it's good. I think I mentioned this last week. It's quality over quantity. So I can't
Yeah,
imagine them keeping up the quality at 24 or 22 episodes if they did it for
yeah.
season 10. So it's yeah, I
Uh,
think
They couldn't do that back in season one, so I
no,
really can't
no.
imagine them doing that in
I mean they
season
had
10. Yeah.
that awful episode Space, right? That was in season 1. Yeah, that
Yep.
was
Yep.
that was bad. But yeah, so far no spaces in this limited series, so that's good.
No, I think they've all been good to varying degrees. I mean, I don't know. I mean, clearly, I mean, to me anyway, Mulder and Scully meet the Were Monster is the best, but definitely, I think they're all really solid. And I'm looking forward to finishing up the mythology at least for now. You know. Oh, speaking of which, well, we'll get to this in a second, but Mike did text me in regards to, or tweeted me in regards to my OS problems. They want you to keep buying new stuff. It's all a conspiracy, man. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. It
That's
is.
what Chris Carter would say.
So okay, Mulder's hallucination. What did you think about that on the whole, and also all the little cameos inside of it?
I will say so. Yeah, we're in spoiler territory, obviously.
Yeah.
And last week I mentioned I saw this behind the scenes featurette online that I said ruined some surprises for this season. And yeah, the one thing that was spoiled for me was the return of the lone gunman.
Hmm.
Like they were on that behind the scenes like featurette for like 10 seconds saying, "Oh, this is going to be great." And they were dressed up as cowboys. So I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
"What?" So yeah, I had that in my mind seeing this season. I was like, "Okay, where are they going to show up? Like what's going to happen?" And as soon as like Mulder had that hallucination like tonight, I knew like, "Okay, this is where the lone gunmen are going to be." Because there's no way that like they could possibly resurrect the lone gunman like like living, breathing like people. Like
Yeah.
it had to be a hallucination. So yeah, it's yeah. I guess I liked it. I mean, the song choices were odd. But yeah, it's I enjoy Mulder having a bit of fun, being a little bit loose. But yeah, it's again that I mean, putting it in this episode definitely felt like a tonal mistake, if that's the right phrase.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's a little bit of fun in this season, and I think yeah, it maybe should have been in another episode, maybe. But I think for what it is, I like the fun of it. There you go.
Yeah, I liked it too. I thought it was kind of a cool little bit, I mean, it's like there's times where you're just like, okay, now we're, going into crazy territory, and that's certainly what this was, and you never know how crazy the X-Files is going to get, and I kind of appreciate when it does get super crazy, and I think it seemed even crazier given the fact that this seemed like a more serious episode, to begin with, so that I appreciated. The cameos I thought were a little weird because they were at first I thought rather subtle. I don't know, like I didn't even notice it until like my wife was like, "Is that Skinner?" And I'm like, Yeah, it is." And then the lone gunmen are there, and I'm like, "Oh, holy shit! Look at that!" And then of course Cancer Man at the end.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Zach said, the lone gunman seemed like a waste. I mean, I guess, but how else do you bring him in, really? I mean, I guess maybe the answer is don't bring him in. That's a thing to do. But this show really does like they've always liked sort of bringing back people regardless of whether or not they're dead or anything, you know.
yeah. Like,
Um,
di- uh, didn't they? They had a comics run, right? The X Files did, and didn't they retcon that the lone gunman death, right? If I
did they
remember
really?
correctly, I believe
Oh
so.
wow.
So I don't know how they did that in. Oh, I think they faked their own death. I think that's what they said in the X Files comic. This is just me reading a Wikipedia page about it like years ago. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I mean, how else can they bring him back? Like a hallucination. I mean, they did that for I was gonna say series finale, but like season 9 finale, right? They just came
Yeah.
back and gave Mulder some guidance or something. I can barely remember that, but yeah, um, I kind of knew, knowing that they'd be back, it'd be some type of weird dream sequence. I mean,
Mhm.
I liked it. I mean, I like seeing those guys in whatever capacity. So I just wish they weren't dead. Yeah.
I guess so, but they had a really good. I mean, for a show which knew that it was ending, to give the lone gunman sort of that hero's exit, I thought was pretty cool because it really does sort of, I mean, lots of times I think people kind of dismiss those characters because they're more comedic and stuff, and to say like, hey, these guys, what they're doing is really good, and they're really putting their necks on the line for what they believe in and everything, and they've really helped out Mulder and Scully on numerous occasions, and they are characters to be taken seriously, even if they're fun to laugh at or whatever, and to sort of give them that hero's exit, I thought was pretty cool. I mean, it was sad. I hated to see them die, but
Yeah,
at the same time, I thought it was a good ending for them.
yeah. It still hurts, Mike. Like
That's true.
them dying.
Yep, that's true. So you hear that? Come on! Oh my God! Now it's really freaking out. What's going on? And now it goes away. See, this is. I had this problem all the time with my old laptop. I had to create and now it's really messed up. Ah! I don't know what to do. I mean, you hear that? I'm not
I
going
did.
crazy, right?
Yeah, I did hear it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, maybe it's settled down now. All right. Sorry about that. Sorry to viewers. Oh, technology. All right. So, okay, and any final thoughts on this episode or anything else that you wanted to cover?
Um, I'm trying to think. Well, let me go back to my notes. I will say, just to jump ahead a bit, that preview for the next episode got me really excited because it looks like they're going to do the like the December. What was the dates? They said it was December 25th, 2012, right? I
Um, I think it was like December. Is it December 12th? I don't know. It was the
yeah,
end of the Mayan calendar. Yeah, or
yeah.
December
So
20th to 2012. Yeah,
like
something like
the
that.
the final plan that they've been teasing for years. Like think
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen next week, which should be interesting. It's I don't know. Like I'm excited and also afraid that it probably won't live up to my expectations since they've been teasing it for years. And
yeah,
Chris Carter was going to make an entire movie based off it, but then the date passed and kind of disappeared. And now he's going to have his chance the next week's episode to, I guess, fulfill the promise of so many mythology episodes. So yeah, I'm excited yet a bit hesitant. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
yeah. They teased it, in a sense with in the first episode where they were like, oh well, people were like, why didn't the world end or whatever? But it did. That's when it started, and it's like, well, that's kind of a cop out, But
Yeah,
okay, all right. It'll be interesting to see though. Um, so real quickly, the episode which we chose, the legacy episode which we chose for this week was the postmodern Prometheus, which is another episode that Carter wrote and directed himself, which it seems like is his favorite episode, which makes sense. And this is the black and white episode with the Frankenstein, sort of thing, and Cher and all that stuff. Um, any thoughts on postmodern Prometheus?
yeah. I had a chance to revisit it earlier today before seeing this new episode. Yeah, it's speaking of tonal shifts, it was interesting seeing that and this new episode back to back. Because I remember liking Postmodern Prometheus, and I still do like it. It's shot beautifully. That I think the black and white photography fits X Files for sure. Um, the story is like campy and horrific enough. But yeah, it it starts with that comic like overlay, like the little animation. Then it ends that way too. It's that the was it the EC Comics like creep show type of thing.
Yeah, like
Like
Tales from the Crypt
yeah,
and
Tales
stuff.
from the Crypt. It wants
Yeah,
to be that kind of story, but then it also wants to be a Frankenstein story. It kind of wants it both ways, and they also throw Jerry Springer in there. Um,
yeah.
I do like it, but I think maybe it should have stuck to one thing or another.
Hmm.
I guess that's my only complaint. It tries to be very many things, but it should really focus on being just one. Because I do love that Frankenstein aspect, um, like the whole monster and like you see the villagers trying to destroy the monster and all that. Like those visuals work absolutely, and the black and white helps. So those aspects I like in the episode. But yeah, overall, I can see why this might be Chris Carter's favorite episode. Um, but yeah, it's really good. So I guess my last thing I'll say is it's not as good as I remember, but I still think it's a very solid episode.
Yeah, it really is kind of all over the place and everything, but I don't know. I mean, I enjoy it for sure. I do think it is a good episode, but I mean, I think what you're saying is really true. And tonally, it's very strange how, I mean, it's like super broad comedy, I mean, to the point of like these weird visual gags where it's like, what are you doing? I mean, not I mean, they've never shied away from doing stuff like that, but it just really did feel like, like completely thrown in there and sort of not appropriate for this story, like you're saying, kind of similar to, yeah, this week. And the other thing is, like, while I love the black and white photography and everything, I guess my question is, why did they do it for this episode? That seems kind of weird,
I'm
why
guessing
why
I'm guessing it's because of the Frankenstein tie-in. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
I guess that's the only reason why I think they did that. But yeah, it
yeah,
I don't know.
it's weird. I definitely don't think it's the best episode that Carter directed. I mean, I think Triangle would be that, but But, what can you do? What can you do, right?
Right.
So okay, I have one more question for you. If you don't, it's not X-Files related
Sure.
per se, okay, but it's relevant news, in the whatever geek world or whatever. And so Brian Fuller was
Oh,
announced
okay.
as the showrunner of Star Trek, right?
Right.
The new Star Trek show. And I know that you love Hannibal, like in a big bad way, right?
Yes, very
So,
much so.
okay, so I've strangely never watched any of Brian Fuller's like shows that he created, like at all, really, which is strange. I've gone back and watched almost all the pilots except for Hannibal. But let me just ask you, like, do you think what do you think about this, I guess, in general?
I think it is good news. Being a fan of Brian Fuller, like I watched Pushing Daisies. Like that was I think my first Brian Fuller experience. I love that
Mhm.
show to death. I love the look of it, love the feel, the vibe, the whole thing. And then he carries that tone, surprisingly enough, into Hannibal. Like the the themes of like death and the visual stylings, like that Brian Fuller does in Pushing Daisies, he brings to Hannibal, but of course
Mhm.
in a tiny bit different light. Hannibal is, I mean, I've gone on record saying it's an amazing show. It's maybe my favorite show of the last like decade. Like, visually, it's like nothing comes close on TV to that show. And but then but here's the thing about Fuller. With Hannibal, he proved that he can pay homage, he can respect the source material of anything he works on. He because he does that with Hannibal, um, and I have a feeling he will do that with Star Trek and with American Gods, which he's working on now. I think that's going to be on Stars. That's his next
Yeah.
TV show. But
Yeah.
yeah, like knowing because I read I read Red Dragon, which Fuller bases Hannibal on that book, and also he takes elements from the book Hannibal, and also like Hannibal Rising, that book. Yeah, he pays homage to it while being, I guess, while making it its own thing. So yeah, I think he can bring that talent to Star Trek, respecting the source material, respecting what came before, and making it his own thing. And I'm fully confident that it'll be a visually amazing show too, because he knows how to bring that to TV. And I'm hoping that David Slade, the director of like some of the best episodes on Hannibal, I hope he comes in to direct maybe one or two Star Trek episodes, because I think those two working together, it's bar none some of the best TV episodes they've done. Yeah, comes from their work. So yeah, I'm excited and I'm eager to see how great the show will be.
Yeah, Slade is working on American Gods with him. That's for sure. Um, yeah, it's just as far as the directors are concerned. I mean, there was at one point a pitch for Star Trek that Fuller was developing with Bryan Singer. So I don't know whether or not he is still like would be involved if they were to, get a director in, because I know that he's going to be probably knee deep in X-Men at this point in time, when they're shooting the pilot or whatever. But the name that really sticks out to me, which I would love to see, as like the sort of director in residence of Star Trek or whatever, is another Hannibal guy, and that's Michael Reimer,
Oh yeah.
who I believe has directed more episodes of Hannibal than anyone else. But he was the head director on Battlestar Galactica. So to see him doing Star Trek, I think would be pretty awesome. So
Yeah, and I say David Slade because I think David Slade and Brian Fuller, like in that pilot of Hannibal, really set the tone
mhm.
and the visual styling. So it'll be interesting to see if like they kind of do that for Star Trek and set up the visual style with David Slade in the first episode. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
Michael Reimer is like he was amazing. Yeah, I mean, the entire series of Hannibal is amazing. The only complaint I have with this news is that we'll just wait a little bit longer for whatever incarnation Hannibal season 4 will be, because Fuller
yeah.
keeps promising that. Whether it's going to be a series or a movie or whatever, I guess we'll have to wait a little bit longer for that if that ever comes to fruition. But it's still good
Yeah.
news.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thanks for the insight. So, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me personally on Twitter at Marcelo J. Pico for Jessica Chastain pictures of all sorts, classy pictures. And also the Talk Film Society at Talk Film SOC. We have podcasts. We have, the Talk Film Society Awards, which is this Sunday. The voting is still on talkfilmsociety.com/vote. Vote in 19 categories. The voting ends Thursday. The awards are on Sunday, live on Twitter. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Excellent, excellent. And as always, you can find me right here on commentarytrackstars.com doing this show, and then also on Commentary Trackstars on Trek.fm, where we will undoubtedly be talking a lot about Brian Fuller in the upcoming weeks and months. So be sure to check that out. And you can also find me on Twitter at Mumbles3K, or you can find the show on Twitter at ComTrackstars, or you can email us at comtrackstars@gmail.com. All right. Well, thanks again for joining me this week. Oh, yeah. I guess one last thing. I guess if we're to pick a legacy episode for next week, I was thinking, since this is the final episode, what if we went back to the beginning and looked at the very first episode of the X-Files, the pilot?
Okay.
No, no. All right. So yeah, okay. Well, thanks for watching, everyone who's out there. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I need to figure this out. Oh, hey, there it goes again. And yeah, we'll be back next week for the final episode of the X-Files, My Struggle Part 2. All right. Talk to you then.